Trae Tha Truth, a well-known rapper from Houston, has built a career that combines his raw talent with a deep connection to his community. But in the year 2024, his world was shaken to its very core. His 6-year-old daughter, Truth Thompson, went missing, setting in motion a long period of uncertainty, fear, and anguish. As the days stretched into weeks, then months, the pain of not knowing where his daughter was or if she was safe consumed him. But through it all, there was one thing that remained constant: his faith. On the first day of 2025, Trae received the call he had been praying for. The words seemed impossible to believe at first. His daughter, Truth, who had been missing for months, had been found. The relief, joy, and disbelief he felt in that moment are emotions that many parents can only imagine, and for Trae, it was the beginning of a new chapter, a chapter rooted in gratitude, faith, and a renewed sense of purpose. In an emotional post on Instagram, Trae expressed his gratitude to God and to the people who had helped bring his daughter home. His words were filled with raw emotion, his relief palpable, but they also reflected the deep spiritual journey he had undergone during this painful time. "Never let no one tell you God ain't real," Trae wrote, his declaration of faith loud and clear. Call he had received was a miracle, one that he recognized as being orchestrated by divine intervention. But the road to this moment had been a long and arduous one, filled with sleepless nights, constant worry, and moments of despair. For Trae, the moment Truth went missing was the moment his world came crashing down. He had been living his life in the spotlight, balancing his career with his role as a father to his children. But nothing could have prepared him for the gut-wrenching pain of not knowing where his daughter was. The uncertainty was a constant weight on his shoulders, one that seemed to grow heavier with each passing day. In the first few weeks after Truth's disappearance, Trae found himself lost in a haze of disbelief. He couldn't understand how something so devastating could happen to him, and his heart ached as he thought of his daughter, alone and scared. The thought of not seeing her smile, not hearing her voice, was unbearable. He felt completely helpless, trapped in a nightmare he couldn't wake up from. But even as the darkness of despair loomed over him, Trae found solace in his faith. It was this faith that sustained him during the darkest days. He acknowledged that he didn't have all the answers, that he didn't know where Truth was or when he would see her again. But he also knew that God was with him and with his daughter. "I know God is the only reason I held on when I wanted to give up," Trae wrote. These words reflected the internal struggle he had faced. There were times when he wanted to give in to the overwhelming sadness, when the weight of the situation felt too much to bear. But he pushed forward not because it was easy, but because he had faith that God was guiding him through the storm. The journey from the moment Truth went missing to the moment she was found was a roller coaster of emotions. There were times when Trae would wake up each day with hope, believing that today might be the day he would hear good news. But those days were often followed by more heartbreak, more unanswered questions. The uncertainty gnawed at him, testing his strength and resolve. Each day felt like a year, and the pain of not knowing was a constant companion. Yet, through it all, he held on to the belief that his daughter would come home. That belief, even when it seemed irrational, was the anchor that kept him from spiraling into despair. For months, Trae had no idea where Truth was. He didn't know whether she was safe, whether she was okay. The silence was deafening, and the fear that gripped him was all-consuming. But even in the silence, Trae found peace in his faith. He wrote, "I had to let go and trust him. Though it was hard in these past months, I was completely broken and empty. I learned to have faith." These words reflected the depth of his internal struggle. He had to let go of the need for control, the need to understand why things were happening. He had to trust that, even though he didn't have the answers, God had a plan for him and for Truth. It was in these moments of deepest despair that Trae learned what true faith was. He learned to trust in the unknown, to hold on to the belief that something greater than himself was in control. It wasn't easy. There were nights when he cried himself to sleep, wondering if he would ever hold his daughter again. But he never lost faith. Even when the situation seemed hopeless, he believed that God was watching over Truth, protecting her, guiding her back to him. As the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, Trae began to find comfort in the support of his community. His friends, family, and fans rallied behind him, offering prayers, well wishes, and support. It was this outpouring of love and encouragement that kept him going. God put the right people in place. God placed the right eyes to see. God put it on people's heart to assist, and God aligned every person that prayed and heard they cry. These words were a testament to the power of community. Trae understood that, while he had been the one enduring the pain, it was the collective support of those around him that made the difference. People who prayed for Truth, who shared her story, and who did everything they could to help were just as much a part of the miracle as the moment Truth was found. When the news finally came that Truth had been located, Trae's world was forever changed. Truth had been found in El Centro, California, near the border, and the relief that washed over Trae was indescribable. His daughter was safe. After months of uncertainty, months of heartbreak, he could finally breathe again. The emotional roller coaster of the past months had been brutal, but now, with Truth back in his arms, it was all worth it. In his Instagram post, Trae shared his gratitude to God and to everyone who had helped bring Truth home. He thanked those who had kept faith, who had supported him through the darkest days. But more than anything, he acknowledged the power of faith, the power of prayer, and the power of belief. He wrote, "To everyone going through similar situations with their children, use me as an example that God can make miracles and shake up the world." This was not just a message of gratitude, it was a message of hope. Trae wanted others to know that, no matter how bleak the situation may seem, miracles are possible. All it takes is faith. As the year 2025 began, Trae made a vow to himself and to his family. He promised that he would no longer let sadness define his life. "He told me no more sad and depressed days, he told me to celebrate and smile," Trae declared. And with that declaration, he turned a page. No more would he be consumed by the darkness of the past few months. Instead, he would embrace the future with joy, gratitude, and a renewed sense of purpose. He would celebrate Truth's return and honor the lessons he had learned through this difficult time. In the months that followed, Trae focused on rebuilding his life, not just as a rapper, but as a father, a man of faith, and a leader in his community. He knew that the journey ahead wouldn't be easy, but he also knew that with God by his side, there was nothing he couldn't overcome. "This will be my season," he declared, and with that, he embraced the future with open arms. Through the pain, the uncertainty, and the heartache, Trae Tha Truth had come to understand something far deeper than the world of music and fame. He had learned the true meaning of faith, of perseverance, and of love. He had learned that even in the darkest times there is light. And that light for him was his daughter, Truth. Well, guys, what are your thoughts? Do tell us. Thanks for watching.